The next presentation will be the task group, technical working group discussion, started by Judith Corley-Lay.
We're going to be doing, on the calls this past couple of months, we've noticed, it has been observed that your task groups that your partnership has had have been, well, inactive. In fact, nobody has had a progress report in a number of months. And so I said, well, maybe we need to rethink what those task groups are and get some energy behind some new task groups. There's nothing that says that every partnership has to have the same group of tasks, the exact same task groups. So whatever you all want to take on, we're good. We can do whatever it is that you want and need. Most of the partnerships have had a task group on research and one on training. Some have had something on specifications. Some have had public information. I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm going to just share with you the bridge preservation approach. I realize we always like to think that we are special and different, but they have a very different approach to these task groups. And what they have done is they have picked their task groups around particular bridge preservation activities. So they have a task group on coatings. They have a task group on joint replacement. They have a task group on deck replacement. Some of the big items, very common items, and that means that they get people together and they compare specifications. They look at, well, we've been hearing about the AASHTO new specifications. If there was a group on, say, improving chip seals, that group could gather all of the region's chip seal specs and compare them to the AASHTO, the new AASHTO specs, and try and see what could be done, who's close, or how far apart are the states from those new AASHTO specs. So there's a lot of work that could be done. This is just a discussion to see what is it that you might be interested in doing. Anybody have a thought? Okay, this would be preservation type training, and that group would have to look at what type, what mechanisms, how, all the different aspects. What other topic areas? Right, and I don't know either. What other training areas do you all want? And I think here we might also put acceptance. Anything else? There are agencies that do not contract out. They have at least some significant portion of their activities are done with in-house forces. This is for them. Other topics. Okay, so I've added a testing component here on what kind of tests could we do, should we do, what will be most effective in telling us the performance. Okay, anything else on the training piece? Oh, absolutely. This is not one thing that this group could do would be to compile a resource list for agencies on what training is available from University of Nevada at Reno, from the CP Tech Center, from all the different possible things. There's a lot of stuff out there. Right. Okay. All right, what other topics do you all want to look at? Research is a hard nut to crack because there are a limited number of approaches to getting it funded. Now, I will say that the Midwest group has a research group, and that Midwest partnership suggested a research needs statement. I carried it to the Committee on Maintenance on their behalf, and it is actually in the balloting for NCHRP funding. But that's an effort to get that done.
You have to know how ASTA works.
Absolutely.
We're very lucky with.
Right.
Been very active in the ASTA research.
Right. And certainly one of the things that some of us could do to help that group is explain the process. You know, what are the mechanisms for doing that? Is there interest in the research topic statement task group? Okay, that's certainly something that group could take on every year, have that discussion about what's going on. Other topics in this area? Okay, what's going on? How much does it cost to participate, and so forth? That would be one of the topics that could be considered. That didn't come up on the research roadmap, but it is an interesting thing, and it's something that some agencies are really heavily invested in. That does not mean, though, that one project is going to solve the question over the next decade. I mean, that's an evolving topic, so we can expect to see that, you know, in the indefinite future. Other topics? One topic that I think might be a good one to take on is or almost every state agency has a state research program. They usually result in contracts to state universities or other local research vendors. They return a final report. What percentage of that is implemented and becomes part of agency practice, and what could be done to increase that implementation? So I think there's a lot of work in that implementation area that could be done. And that would be, you know, agencies sharing with each other. We've tried this and got a few people to buy in, and then we tried this other approach and got a few more people to buy in. How do you go about growing that pool? Other topics? Okay, so far it's looking like we're going to stay with exactly the same task groups that we have had in the past, and that's fine. If that's what you all want, it doesn't matter to me. Any other topics that you want to take on? I'm going to tell you about one other bridge example. The bridge group has a national task group on innovative technology deployment. And what this group does, they've developed a process where a vendor can go to a state agency and say, I'm willing to put down a test strip or a test deployment. That vendor puts in an application and agrees to hire an independent third party to evaluate the laydown, the construction, and the performance over a 2-year period. And then that material will be published on the website so that other states can see what the issues were in construction, what the benefits were as far as performance, And so as the number of those test sections grow, agencies may say, this has worked in a number of states near us. We want to also try this innovative technology. I think it's an interesting approach. Each agency could, in fact, use that Federal Highway Administration 5% to defray the cost of that test section. That would be independent of the this product evaluation. What this is trying to do is to make it so that products don't have to be tested in every district of every state nationally, that we can do maybe something less and still feel like these products are being tested and evaluated in a meaningful way. So I know when I was in North Carolina, vendors would come and that we would build some test sections and we might monitor them for a while, but that monitoring was fairly loosey-goosey. And they would also go and monitor, market to the divisions, and the divisions would build test sections and they wouldn't monitor them, and nor would they even tell us where they were. So that was, to me, information that was lost. And so this approach is an effort to avoid that, trials that get lost. Other ideas? Absolutely, it is.
And I think with the industry people we have here, it should be an important.
Absolutely. I mean, we've heard about a number of these products just in the last 2 days. So I think that's a really good idea, that group could come up with a mechanism to gather that information and then write up little blurbs about them, or maybe even do a presentation at every one of these partnership meetings on what new applications have there been, what showcases are they aware of. Absolutely. Just so you know, I'm writing up this meeting for the FP2 journey. Oh, you're writing for your own newsletter. Well, okay. Yes, Larry. Good point, Larry. Yeah, John.
Just some end of season, beginning of season.
Okay. I'm going to call it end of season, but it could be any time that met the needs of the agency. It could be just before they begin paving season. The problem is if you wait till the beginning of the next season, you forget what lessons you learned. So I like that end of season debriefing. I think that's a really good comment. I think one of the things that can be valuable there would be to get some input from the contractors on what they thought went well, what they thought could be improved. I think that could make that an even more valuable thing.
So we do and so like John was saying, we do the same thing in our agency. We only have about 8 project managers, but we do, and we get together and figure out what went right and what went wrong and what specs might need some adjustment and that type of thing. And I like that idea because, again, this is a good venue to, one of the challenges that I think that we've had with these task groups is that we're so dispersed, essentially. It's really hard to find the nuggets that are valuable to you to take home to your agency. And I'm almost, it kind of needs to be some of the vendors need to be tasked with saying, our emails are here, and they're going, hey, we put our product down in this state or this city or this community, and that might be a way to kind of get some of that technology implementation transferred so that people have an opportunity to ask about it or figure it out and keep it alive on their radar and such. Oh, and just a really positive thing, last year in Portland, Intermountain was there and they had this great hot rubber chip seal project that was just over the bridge in Vancouver, and we went over there we had this great tour. The plant was still set up and stuff, and they just finished that, and it looked so cool. It was a really good way to really not kind of do the demonstration projects that get done at ISSA and those kind of things. We haven't got the bandwidth to do that kind of stuff. But again, if you're in the community and there's something going on, that should be something that everybody should be aware of and have an opportunity to take a look.
And I don't know either, you know, that would be an interesting thing to do, and you know, I love doing little polls, and I don't mind doing a little poll after the meeting to ask everybody who attended, how many years have you attended the Rocky Mountain West Pavement Partnership, and we can get some sort of an idea and get a little bit of demographic information associated with that. At this meeting, we heard from a number of the state reports, the business about treatment selection, triggers, and criteria that they were using. But we didn't hear from everybody, so that might be a topic. That is on the research roadmap as one of the priority topics. So I'm just mentioning that because it lines up with the research roadmap. Any other topics? Because we're not going to beat the dead horse. Well, tomorrow we're hoping that you will, in fact, select a number of topics and get a little bit somebody to agree to chair the different topic areas. That's kind of the goal. And maybe even have a very short little breakout where you can sign up for the topics of your choice so that the person who has been coerced into chairing the task group actually has the names of the people who might be interested in participating. These activities are not an onerous burden. You know, this is getting together on the phone once a month to talk about, you know, where are we, what have we done, have we, you know, put together a survey or collect information, whatever it is. It's not going to take a huge amount of your time. So please don't hesitate to participate. Actually, Jason, as soon as that database becomes available, it's going to be under development until about February of next year. The goal is to have that database available for any agency who wants to upload into the database their information. One of the things about that database that is really interesting is it allows the state to put in the quantity of each particular type of treatment that they do in whatever units they use. So it does a conversion even from Canadian metric units, Canadian dollars into US dollars. It's going to be, I think, a very interesting tool.
Who is managing it?
It's actually, it's managed under the Midwest Partnership right now, but it will be available to all states. The Midwest, they have a group, that group is called their data group, is what their task group is. The Northeast Partnership, I think, also has a data group, but it's much less active. The Midwest group has been quite active and has been collecting information. Now this database is to try and make that information so it's more transferable from agency to agency. I did notice that there seemed to be a lot of similarity in this group on the life extensions that you were talking about and the treatment types that you were talking about. Some of the regions are quite a bit more diverse. Anything else you all want me to include on the PowerPoint that I will have for tomorrow morning? Anything else? All right, let's declare a victory and have a good evening.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.